Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Not Now, Mom, I'm Gaming. My name is Kay, and I'll be your host for this first 100% playthrough review episode for Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This is going to be a bit of a long one, as it's a pretty long game with multiple areas to cover on the map. And I think what I'm going to do is create an episode for each area. So this first area is for Catalonia. I've gone through this region quite a lot, so I know most of what to do with the different choices of quests, but in saying that, this is by no means a walkthrough of any sort. I don't mention every single location I go to on the island, but I do mention a lot that I have something to say on, or that involves acquiring achievements. But it's mostly just me wanting to banter. Also, I apologize for butchering any words or names, like I do in the very beginning. Hooked on phonics doesn't always work with names, okay? Anyway, let's get into it. And if you like where this is going, like and subscribe before I Sparta kick your This game starts out with a scene with King Leonidas of Sparta speaking to Dionysius, and has this bit of conversation.
Tell me, Vinicius, have you ever gone fishing with your son?
No, never. A soldier's life is all I've had the honor to know.
I would have liked to have gone fishing with my son.
Even at the start of a game where we don't really know the main character yet, or not really a main character, but a character that's very important, it's a sad line, knowing that he knows this will be the end of himself and he probably will never see his son again. I have to say, when the game begins and you can control the situation, you're thrown right into battle with a ton of people with very little information on how to fight them. In fact, the game merely tells you how to do a light attack and then how to use one of your skills, which is Bull Rush. The problem here is you have 4 skills you can use. And maybe the game figures you'll try out the other ones, but you don't know what they do and what they are, and might not even think about using any of the other ones since you were just taught to use the one. What's more is that you can block attacks, do heavy attacks, dodge and dodge roll, but it doesn't teach us any of that. You have all these enemies and can do 2 things that the game taught you. This is also a bit of a practice scene that implies the gold icon above an enemy's head is the target you're going for, and the fact that their level is outlined in gold means they're a lot tougher than the other soldiers around you. Technically, even after defeating all of them, you can still fight a bunch of the other soldiers in the battle, though your main course of action is the person off to the side. Even at the start, you can run to the main bad guy, Kurush, and enter a cutscene with him. You don't have to murder the other captains on the battlefield. However, I believe you have to kill all 3 captains and then kill the main guy in order to get the achievement, This is Sparta. In the battle with Kurush, we learn a bit more about the combat regarding locking on, dodging and extending your dodge, and heavy attack to break his guard. You still don't learn about blocking an attack though, nor the other abilities you can use, but maybe they figured you wouldn't need to use any of them during this fight, or you test them out anyway as before in the main army battle. I'm actually not sure if you can go into the menu and find out what the abilities are, or if you have to just use them to find out. I typically just use the Bull Rush ability anyway. It's just annoying because why give us the ability to use things we know nothing about at the very start of a game when we're thrown into a war, you know? This guy obviously knows what he's doing, and we do not. But Bull Rush is a good move because I think you have a possibility of knocking this guy off the cliff to kill him, if I'm not mistaken. It's a fun thing to do all throughout the game though. Now, during this playthrough, there was some sound issues, or Odyssey just got tired of people saying the same things all the time since I played the beginning of this game several times over, a little beyond the Catalonia portion. But when the Persian soldier comes into the scene, he's supposed to say, "By dawn, you'll be completely surrounded," except his lips move and nothing comes out.
Xerxes knows of the path behind the mountain. They're coming.
We are Spartans. When are we not?
This part was funny for me because I was in the middle of eating something and not looking at my monitor, and so when he didn't say anything, I was like, wait, aren't there words here? Which just tells you how many times I've gone through this intro. Yeah, too many. Play the game to the end, Kay. Our next scene involves two women, where one finds a spear and then she's laying down onto a table that'll transport her into the memories of someone from the past. First, let me say that I'm not really familiar with these games in the sense that I haven't played them from the start of the series up until this point. So while I know the terms of Animus and Abstergo, I don't really know what it is they exactly do except take trips into the past through important people via artifacts or relics maybe? I actually started the Assassin's Creed series with Odyssey, so anything before I just don't have any knowledge of. When we're in the Animus though, we're able to choose some settings for the game itself. First is the difficulty. Easy, normal, hard, or nightmare. We're going with normal mode for this playthrough review. Second is the gameplay mode. Guided or exploration. Guided has the game guide you where to go a lot easier so you're not wandering around so much, while exploration mode doesn't hold your hand as much and encourages you to roam around to search for things. I've always done exploration mode, and this playthrough review is no exception. I feel like for me, even if I were to choose guided mode, I would still veer off the path and do things on my own since my ADD doesn't allow me to follow a straightforward path. Obviously, because 476 hours into Assassin's Creed Odyssey and I still haven't come close to beating the game. To be fair, I do make guides, so don't judge me too harshly. Also, it's nice if you don't want to be on a specific exploration mode anymore, you can just change it in the settings. It's not a one and done thing. Lastly, the DNA on the spear points to two different matches, Alexios or Cassandra. Personally, I always choose Cassandra because I can tolerate her voice a lot more than I'd be able to tolerate Alexios through an entire playthrough. I'm not dissing his voice actor or anything because they both do a killer job, as with everyone in the game that has voice lines, but his voice just doesn't suit me for a long game. In the opening scene to Kefalonia, you follow Icaros, an eagle and an important companion to Cassandra, through different portions of the environment that you'll actually be traveling to. So it's not just looking around, you are being guided by a bird. By the way, the opening scene has such a good soundtrack to it. It's always worth a listen to me. And in case you didn't know, they used some of the same insults back then as we do today.
Hey! Shitface! Get down here!
With these soldiers, you learn more about the combat, which is the lock-on, something we now already know how to do, and how to switch a lock to another target. Not only that, but you can also parry an attack, which makes the enemy stumble. Good for when they have a shield. They're not actually dead, they're just laying there and one of the guys even blinks. He just doesn't want to get another ass whooping if he stands up again. We meet a girl named Phoebe who seems to want to be an important person like Cassandra because she asks if Zeus could also give her an eagle if he was asked by us. Except I don't think the eagle came from any gods. Perhaps it's just a wish of Phoebe that the gods take notice of her and gift her with something special. She's brought news that Marcos wants to speak with us at his new vineyard, which is apparently news to us that we can't even believe. And that tells us a little about Marcos, doesn't it? We also had to pay Phoebe for her time and effort to reach us and return to Marcos, the scoundrel. I don't know if we actually pay her, like if we lost money by doing that. I never even thought about that until right now. This is where you're met with two choices on what to do with the two thugs. Get out of here, or you're dead. If you choose get out of here, you're letting them go free and they will set up an ambush for you with other thugs on the road to Sammy. One of the pros is that it's going to be extra loot and a bit more experience for you to kill them. If you choose you're dead, there won't be an ambush and that's that. You'll have to attack them again until they're dead for real. I went ahead and set them off on their own just to show where they're going to be hiding out on the road. If you're watching the video of the podcast, you'll notice there's a whole lot of rewards I'm getting popping up on the side, and that's because I bought a bunch of stuff previously in the rewards section of the Ubisoft app for Assassin's Creed Odyssey specifically. So disregarding those for now, we have to climb the house behind us in order to open up a chest, which shows you how to climb things, and most things are climbable in this game, though there are portions where your character is on the struggle bus and you'll possibly yell at them to climb already, but you also learn there are chests you can open in the game, which means exploration is encouraged, whether you chose guided mode at the beginning or not. Once you open the chest, the game gives you the keybind for opening your inventory. In your inventory, you have all the equipment locations of weapon, which you can dual wield later, bow and arrows, head, arm, chest, waist, legs, and eventually a mount. You'll also find the pouch on the lower left that can have important items from either quest or loot that's just loot to sell. There's a loadout on the far left where you can buy slots for multiple outfits you wish to switch to later, and then on the very bottom are your stats regarding health, hunter damage, warrior damage, assassin damage, and armor. Obviously, these stats are going to change based on the armor you wear, and they'll benefit whatever skills you choose in the skill tree. Thus, you can use the loadout to switch what kind of gear to use for certain situations. There's a way you can disassemble some of the equipment you have that you don't want or don't want to sell, but when it comes to the bonus equipment, you can't do either. There's a way to get them out of your inventory, but that comes a bit later, so if you got some stuff you can't sell or disassemble, well, that's why. It's a bit annoying, but I can also see why they don't allow you to get rid of it, because if you forget it's a special item, you might regret selling it later and whatnot. For now, I'm going for my warrior damage equipment, though for the most part, I'm always up for the assassinating route. It's just in the beginning, I feel like warrior is a lot easier than using a bow or sneaking around. And if you're new, you'll probably end up in more fights whether you're sneaking about or shooting from afar anyway. What's funny is even with all my warrior equipment on, my warrior damage is 45 compared to my assassin damage of 161. At this point, you don't have any abilities, but the ability tab is lit up and you can check out everything that you'll be able to choose from depending on what style of combat you want, hunter, warrior, or assassin. You can mix and match, of course, because let's be real, there's not a whole lot of skills for how long the game can be, so you probably end up getting all the skills by the end of it. Maybe. But some of these skills are definitely reliant on your equipment stats. There's also a map and quest tab, but I won't get into those since they're self-explanatory. Although on the map, if you take any in-game screenshots, an icon will show where the picture you took was, and will show it to your friends if they got them to show on the map. You can see other people's screenshots as well, but also turn them off if they bug you, if, their screenshots are better than yours. Because I played this part so many times, I made a walkthrough on how I go about finishing everything on Kefalonia, and you aren't supposed to know it just yet, but you can send Icarus into the air and have him fly around and target things when zooming in with his sight. As such, I typically send him up to find treasures that could be passed up, like the one nearby. Afterwards, I went to a point of interest, which is a question mark, and find a lone soldier as well as another chest. Now I looked for another point of interest that's out in the water. This time when heading that way, you might notice small trees and metal along the way that you can gather, as well as animals you can kill and loot. These materials are actually essential for future things, and if you don't collect them, or even disassemble a lot of your equipment, you'll have a hard time doing some stuff that I'll talk about eventually. Listen, It's hard to bring things up you know about when essentially you're not supposed to know the stuff yet. Bear with me here. They're used for equipment and ship upgrades. The point of interest in question is called the Islet of Zeus, and it's actually an area you can come to as part of a quest. So if you miss this place, you'll end up coming back to it if you do that quest. The thing is, the quest is on the other side of the island, and you can finish it right now early on when you loot the chest under the water. The problem here is there are 3 sharks circling the area you'll need to dive into, and you've got no bow at the moment. If you wait until the point you get the actual quest, you'll have the bow and you can easily kill the sharks. But as long as you don't fuck around and find out, you should be able to get in and out in one piece, even if you're nibbled on. Which I was nibbled on. Oddly enough, this is the first time a shark has nibbled on me in this area, so I must have been having a bad day. If you do get nibbled on, though, take note that once out of combat, your health does return to you, so you don't have to sit somewhere and eat to get healed up or anything. The quest item in the chest is called Procrus's Necklace. Their mythic relationship was complicated, to say the least, but Cephalos did bestow the beautiful gift of this necklace upon his wife, Procrus. The next area I go to is infested with wolves, and I don't believe you can actually stealth assassinate an animal. I'm pretty sure that's reserved for humans only. I think this goes the same for climbing on top of a column and jump assassinating them that way, but I'm not too sure on that one. I mean, for one, you'll have to wait for them to get close enough to you in order to jump assassinate them anyway. So I don't think it's really worth the wait, as once you jump down and you're in view, you're kind of triggered their instinct to kill you. Next up is the Cave of Tethys, which is an underwater cave. You'll want to get in it and get out before your air supply runs out. And the way that works is once the air you're holding has disappeared, then your health starts to disappear as well. So you've still got a small amount of time when your air runs out to reach the surface. But this cave isn't that long or deep, and there's just a single chest to obtain from it. Now's the part along the road where the ambush comes into play. If you use Icaros, you can tag all the enemies along the road, which there's usually just 4 guys, but they brought a dog along this time. Yay for me. Normally, if it was just the people, you could assassinate all of them on the left and then deal with the right, but the dog sort of complicates matters. Anyway, they're grown so they aren't difficult. For a specific area of a quest that you don't get a direct quest marker to, like if you look in your quest and it tells you the person you're looking for is in so-and-so, and that's the southwestern part of this map area, then when close enough you can send Icaros out to spot exactly where it is you're going if he's close enough to find it. I believe the game does prompt you this, so this is one of the parts where you can find out you can send Icaros up into the sky. In this case, you can find Marcos that way. Before we meet up with him, on the top floor of a building, you'll find a tablet with a kind of riddle on it. This one is called Ashes to Ashes. It states, Greece, Kefalonia. When times are bad, it can be easy to turn away from the gods. Go to the burned temple in Kossos village in the cursed valley of Pali. I can be found in a pile of burning ashes, where a worshipping man left his post to begin his new life as a pirate. You'll find tablets like this throughout each area of the game, and they'll all give you hints on where you need to go to find a certain item. If you know where an item is but have not found the note for it yet, then it will not be there. You have to find the riddle for it first, which kinda sucks but also makes sense. There's a chest on top of a building before you meet Marcos. Just know that getting close enough to Marcos will trigger a scene. Speaking of the man, Marcos is not very intelligent, and we get an idea of that from his reasoning of wanting a vineyard in the first place.
You bought a vineyard, Marcos? A vineyard?
Why not? I like wine, you like wine, everybody likes wine. Everybody buys wine. Why not from me?
Because you don't know how to grow grapes or make wine?
I'm a fast learner. You grow grapes on the vine, then you get some wine.
Is that simple, is it?
That's simple. Turns out he also owes us money, but he doesn't have it and suggests we go to Sammy in order to get it. Yeah, get around that. Because Marcos is too busy not knowing how making wine actually works. Before doing anything though, we get to choose a horse. This is kind of a weird way the game wanted us to choose a horse, because while there are 3, they're all really the same except for different colorations. And every time you think about choosing one, Marco says,
Fine choice. But this particular breed has a few quirks that you might not be aware of. I wouldn't want you to take an unworthy horse.
just in case you don't want the one you chose. But there's nothing wrong with any, and no matter what horse you choose, its name will be Phobos. After we acquire the horse, we find out Phoebe has been captured, so it's time to head to where she's being held hostage. Of course, me being me, I decide to start the Hungry Gods quest, which involves people offering tributes to the gods inside a cave in order for their wishes to be granted. We have to see what's going on and if the gods are real. Inside the cave, there's a gap behind the statue that the people pray to. You'd think if they were praying to different gods, there'd be more than one statue in here, so I'm not sure if the statue represents a specific god or it's a placement statue as a messenger to any god that'll listen. The 2 people we meet, the quest giver and later a woman, speak the name Hermes. So is this just Hermes standing here? And due to him being the messenger of the gods, he's supposed to deliver these messages to the gods in question? I guess that'd make the most sense. It turns out in the back of the cave there are bandits, so the gods granting wishes for goods is not an actual thing and a scheme. But we can do some good here by going back the way we came in, instead of going out the back exit. If you go out the back exit, nothing will happen. But return to the gap behind the statue and you'll eavesdrop on a woman talking to the statue.
All I can offer you is devotion, but I need your help. I'm poor. I have 4 hungry children and nothing else. I weave baskets for the market, but my cart is ruined. How can I repair it or sell my wares without it, without you?
After acting as the voice of the god, you're able to go to her place and help her out eventually. But it's time to free Phoebe. In this area, you'll learn that you can hide from enemy sight by crouching in tall grass. There's not really anything special to show you which tall grass will hide you, like you can see in Horizon Zero Dawn, where there's some kind of light fixture above the grass you can hide in. Assassin's Creed Odyssey foliage isn't so specific. Typically, if it looks like you can hide in the grass, then you probably can. But an obvious indicator is the eye icon on the bar on the bottom of the screen. If the eye is crossed out with a single slash, then they won't be able to detect you until they're close enough. At that point, you're able to assassinate the person. These assassinations don't always kill someone, by the way. If the person is of higher level, or your assassination stats are a bit on the weaker side, the enemy may live, but with a big chunk of their health missing. As far as the Kefalonia portion of the game, though, you're more likely to kill every regular enemy with an assassination attempt. Another portion to this section of Saving Phoebe teaches you how to whistle to attract the attention of a nearby enemy. There's some caveats to doing this. First, if there's more than one enemy nearby and you whistle, you'll attract the attention of all of them. And maybe one will approach, or maybe all of them will start being on the lookout for what the sound was and where it came from. Second, if you're in enemy territory, there's a red bar at the top. If you're on the edge of enemy territory, meaning a yellow line, or outside the territory, indicating a white line, and you whistle, the enemy might look toward you, but they won't approach. I never really understood this, but as long as you aren't specifically in their hostile territory, then it don't feel like it's worth looking into the noise of your whistling. But after killing the enemies, you can free Phoebe and enter a flashback with your father, Nikolaus.
You'll have to be stronger than that.
Don't give in! Let him have it! Got you.
Again, up.
Yes, Pater.
A Spartan rises as soon as they have fallen. Ready your staff. Widen your stance. A soldier grounds themselves. Good. Good. Approach me.
That's enough, Nikolaus. The sun's going down. Time to eat, don't you think?
What are we eating tonight?
Tonight we are having baby Alexios. And what a feast he will be.
No, not him. Take me instead. I'm tasty.
Yes, yes, you're all sweet as honey. Now, come inside. The lamb's turning black.
Here. Lay him in his bed.
Yes, Pater.
Cassandra. You are my greatest pride. Remember that. You will bring this family to glory. Go.
Will you bring your family to glory? That begs to be seen, doesn't it? Out of the past, Phoebe mentions looking out for a mercenary named Talos. There are 9 tiers of mercenaries, and the further up you go in the tier, the higher level they are. Meaning tier 1 is the number 1 mercenary. And one day they might be you, because you can knock these guys out of the running. Every time you kill one, you move up a certain rank. But the mercenaries don't always show up to you in order the tiers. You could be running around in a low level area and see a mercenary that's level 30 plus. They're not typically the ones that will come after you if you've got a bounty, but they need to be recognized so you don't accidentally attack them or get on their bad side that they came after you. There's a possibility of 5 mercenaries coming after you once, and that's a scary thing if it happens. Yes, it's happened to me. Yes, I died. What's a little odd is that there's only so many mercenaries, and so I think you can come across the same mercenary even after you've killed them already. I'm pretty sure I'm remembering that right. I'm pretty sure you still get some good loot every time you kill them, but if you didn't think about it, it makes you do a double take. Like, didn't I kill you not that long ago? But yeah. It's worth it to look into their stats to see their vulnerabilities and resistances, as well as how they'll possibly attack, such as with Talos the Stonefist. Originating from Athens, Talos the Stonefist had a name to be taken literally. As big as a boulder, he was known to pound his enemies' heads into the rock faces of many Kephalonian mountains. Good God. If I'm reading it right, I didn't hover over them with a cursor, but I believe he's weak to both assassination and ranged attacks. In fact, before setting Phoebe free, you could openly kill everyone and steal everything around the island and never get a bounty on you until this point, which initiates the mercenaries. A way to keep track of Talos and Kephallonia is to monitor your killing and stealing spree. The more you attract attention in a negative way, the closer Talos will get to you. Obviously, this can't be completely avoided, but you can hold him off from finding your position for a while. Before I go to Sammy to help the woman that was praying to Hermes, I switched my horse mount to a Mycenaean steed, which I obtained from the Uplay store. Is it Uplay store? Ubisoft store? Something like that. Just so you know, I didn't pay for a lot of the stuff I got. Instead, I used points for it on the Ubisoft store. You don't have to throw money at them, but there are times I definitely do, and will point out that in the future. The woman's place has several areas you can inspect, and you want to be careful because you have the chance to accidentally steal something nearby the place you put the money. And like I said, stealing within sight of others will attract unwanted attention. Time to get our debt from Doris. There are technically 3 different outcomes here. At the end of your conversation with them, there's 2 choices you can make. I won't leave without the drachmae. I'll leave you alone. The I'll leave you alone now option will have Duris giving you a sword, which is an upgrade from your starting weapon. You won't be getting any money though. I can't remember what the first option does, but I know you can get the money from breaking his goods and him talking to you again. Again, negative impact from doing this. And then you can also outright kill him and loot his corpse. I don't know what this gives you, his sword and money or one or the other. Either way, bad outcome with negative attention, just like with breaking stuff. And in a public setting, sometimes the townsfolk will try to attack you as well. Before we return to Marcos, there's a message board in town. Message boards are in every town and constantly stock up with quests. For this first one, there's only one available quest involving wolfers, which only require you to kill and loot wolves. You won't be able to have this quest finished even after killing a lot of wolves before grabbing it. The items are obtained only after you've got the quest. This goes the same with a lot of quests, but sometimes if you end up killing a random bandit area in the world, a quest will pop up that you've already finished. You just have to turn it in. I find that quite nice, but it doesn't happen too often. When we're speaking with Marcos, we enter a flashback where Marcos offers up some bread for a deal. Kind of the same thing he does to this day, honestly.
How about we make a deal? I do something for you. You do a few things for me. Everybody wins. Best offer you're gonna get. Think about it.
Wait!
And we're still a sucker. During our conversation, a woman named Drusilla will come around complaining about bandits stopping her wood shipments. She's the one that will finally fix our broken bow, and we don't even have to do anything but follow her into a cutscene. Afterwards, you learn how to shoot. Drusilla is rather obnoxious to us, probably because she's had to deal with Marcos a lot, and this is one of those moments that reminds you, you don't have to be a nice Misthios. You can get nasty right back at people, though sometimes it does affect the outcome of a conversation or event, but that's not the case here.
I'll take care of the bandits.
Make sure that you do, and be quick about it.
No, your moaning won't get the job done any faster. I'll kill the bandits and get your fucking wood back.
I know you will. Take your time finding them. I trust you.
We're not dealing with the bandits just yet. Instead, we're going to a nearby point of interest where Cassandra struggles to jump onto a rocky ledge. Seriously, I don't understand how she can't jump on top of this thing or climb the little ways up. It's rocky, has some crevices, not smooth surfaced at all, but she can't hop up. I just don't understand some of the logistics of climbing in this game, because you'll be met with this obstacle every so often, and it's annoying each and every time. The only thing I can think of is if a boulder or a ledge isn't small enough to hop up on, and if it isn't tall enough to climb, then she gets confused and can't do anything. The location is called Melisani Cave, and at the bottom of the jump into the water you get an ostraka titled Bottomless Lake that reads, Greece, Kefalonia. Taking the plunge, everyone on the island thinks this is the deepest dive, but there is a lake in the Costa Kaliadai that is rumored to be bottomless. If you are able to dive as far as the woman in marble, you will be able to claim me. Within the cave there are enemies, but more importantly there's a chest with the quest item Spear of Kephalos. With this you'll be heading to a quest giver at the nearby temple and possibly handing it over, since you do have a choice in how you complete the quest. You can either hand over the spear for a reward or not, or keep the spear for yourself. I personally had no need for the spear, seeing as I already owned some better weapons, so I went the money route. Next up is our first synchronization point, which involves climbing a large statue of Zeus. One of the funny things you can do is climb onto his private parts, which makes Cassandra say,
I should probably not climb on this.
At the very top, Icarus will take to the skies and give us a full view of the land, which is one of the reasons I really love going for the synchronization areas. Everything's so nice to look at. And then there's the downward jump that I'm not a fan of, though you typically fall into a safe area. Not always, though. I've learned you have to aim sometimes, since apparently Cassandra isn't smart enough to aim for water or something softer herself. On my way to go to the next quest, I kill a few wolves out in the wild, and I just want to note that it's a little difficult to hit targets that are a good distance away, since the arrows fall after a certain point. They aren't a solid straight shot to the target. So you need to raise high enough over their head depending on the distance in order to attempt to hit them. And then if the target is moving, you're liable to miss the shot. Even when they're coming at you, it's easy to miss a shot. But maybe I'm just trash with a bow. Excuse me. Cassandra's trash with a bow. Phoebe wants us to help her friend who's in an area contaminated with a blood fever. Before we go there, I speak to Marcos, who wants me to steal the Cyclops' eye from him without being seen. He really emphasizes the point of not being seen, but it's not a failure to the quest if you do happen to be seen during the mission. We're heading to Kelsos first, and once there, we confront a group of men and are offered a choice. The choice you make affects what might happen in the future, but not in a huge way. Like, it won't affect the future of the gameplay. Your choices are to either let these people go, or I have no say in this. If you choose to let these people go, then you'll end up killing the people who are keeping the family hostage. If you choose I have no say in this, then you're allowing the men to kill the family and Phoebe's friend. The thing is, if they're contaminated with a blood fever, if the family dies, then the blood fever will not spread. It dies with them. If you spare their lives, the blood fever will spread all throughout Kefalonia after you leave the island. It's mentioned again later in the game if you do spare them that a plague is spread on Kefalonia, but even if you come back to see, not much has changed. It's not like there are going to be bodies littering the ground, there's just fewer people from what I recall. Actually, I never did go back to see Marcos specifically, so I don't know if he was hit with the plague. Shows how much respect I had for the guy in my past playthroughs. In one of the burnt buildings, there's a pile of ash in the center where you can complete the Ostraka Ashes to Ashes. When going to retrieve the Cyclops' eye, I've always went in near the front entrance, and it's a bit difficult to be inconspicuous by going that way, and it's easy to want to kill everyone once you've killed one person. Or maybe that's just me. This time I went around the back way by the beach at night. And I don't know if I've mentioned it yet or not, but you can change the time of day. So if it's night, you can switch to day and vice versa. There is a keybind to do such a thing, but I'm not sure if the game even tells you this. Assassinating or stealing is best done at night as less people are active. Anyway, the eye is in one of the houses where you'll have to skirt through the inner portion of the area where a lot of soldiers wander. If you track their movement, it's easy not to sneak by them and not be seen stealing. I don't go to Marcus just yet, instead I go to the next quest, which is called Shark the Vagrant, and requires collecting Procrus's necklace that we got near the very beginning in the shark-infested waters. If you've already got it, then initiating conversation with them will allow you to hand it over and collect a reward without having to travel to the other side of the map. Though this time you do have a bow, so you can kill those sharks before going into the water. Time to get the wood for the woman we got angry at, in case you forgot about her, because I did while looking through this recording. The area in question has wolves skirting around the edge that will sometimes come close enough to attack the soldiers. If not, then you might get unlucky and have them attack you if you get too close to them yourself. The lumber in question is in one of the tents, and don't forget to take it once you clear the area, because I've done that before and it's a lot of running. When you speak to Marcos again, Talos the mercenary is probably going to not be too far away at this point, so keep an eye on his location. There was a point where Talos came near me while I was speaking to someone, and I can't remember for sure, but he either didn't notice me during my conversation, or he did and was attacking me during my conversation. I have no doubt that the enemies in this game will not wait for you to finish a conversation before striking. Back to the matter at hand, if you weren't seen at the enemy location, everything's all hunky-dory. But if you were seen, then there's going to be some soldiers that have come to town to wreck the area that you'll have to kill, and Marcos will scold you for it. That's all. But at least you've got the eye, so Marcos isn't too upset about it. He then tells you about a group of people at an abandoned house that probably have a lot of riches, because he's fishing for money through us like usual. Before going that way, I go to the large pool of water where underwater you can find the Ostraka for Bottomless Lake. You can send Icarus up into the sky to search the area for the strangers. You'll need to kill all of them, and on the last kill, you'll enter a scene with a guy named Elpinor. He approves of your work and wants you to return his stolen Penelope's woven shroud. Talos was nearby, so I engaged in combat with him by shooting him with arrows to get his attention. It's a little annoying that enemies automatically want to go hide somewhere, and then you have to wait until they realize they want to go flush you out from where you shot them from. Don't get me wrong, it can be pretty fun if you're in a tall grass area and you just circle around a person constantly shooting them and sneaking to another part of the grass as they search the area you were just in. I've done that with a high-level mercenary before. I just pop up, shoot him, duck, go around the other side of him, pop up, shoot him, duck, go around the other side. Yeah. He was so confused. But that's not happening here. Instead, I stood on a building and decided to take advantage of using the Sparta kick ability. Even though the building wasn't really that tall, aiming correctly, he could fall off and take a big chunk of damage. After he's dead and looted, you get the arena invitation, which reads, Warrior, the Pefka Arena is the most competitive arena in all the Greek world. As the last living hero of the arena, I'm seeking the best fighters to compete on the most spectacular of stages for honor, pleasure, and drachmae. Your reputation precedes you. Few have slain as prolifically or as poetically as you. Should you be interested, find me in Part Point, or my associate Mayan in Pefka's Warrior's Rest. Skara, hero of the Pefka Arena. Now we go across the water to Odysseus' palace. On top of one of the structures, there'll be an ostraka called Fatal Attraction. It reads, Greece, Kephallonia. If you retrace the steps of Odysseus and take the path north, you will find a goat farm in Ithaca where he once met Athena. She helped him with a disguise to reclaim his wife and kill her suitors. Find your reward on a slaughtered goat. The person holding Penelope's shroud is a captain, but he's easy to take out because you can assassinate him from above. Eventually you come across someone in a cage, and Lord is she loud when she sees you because she wants, out of her little prison. Which is fine and dandy, but good lord. There are enemy soldiers all about, and I'm trying to be sneaky while she's like, hey person over there, can you let me out? Which isn't going to alert any soldier at all. I mean, it doesn't, but only because the AI isn't that clever. But still, shut the fuck up, you idiot. In saying that, I of course let her out. When I do, I ask if she can fight, and she says yes, but she didn't do crap when it came to a fight with some wolves. Which you're usually going to run into some wolves after letting her out, because they wander around behind the area. There were a couple that came after us, and she just absolutely ignored them while I battled them. So what? You can't let me fight some wolves? You'll just fight if a soldier comes at you. Sure.
My thanks. I can't believe I let those malakes sneak up on me.
I can. You literally just walked by a couple aggressive wolves not thinking you need to defend yourself. She asks you to take her to Odysseus' palace to protect her from the bandits, but it's not an escort quest at all in the sense that the person is following you. Oh no. This is Odessa we're talking about here. She bolts straight ahead and directs you where to go. And if you don't follow her precisely or wander too far, she stops and yells at you. This is kind of a thing when it comes to escort quests. It's not always you in the lead, and you do have to follow the person, otherwise they'll stop and wait for you to get near them again before they move. Which means it doesn't matter if you know where they're going. You can't get there before them, because depending on how far you are from them, you'll have to go back and run beside them. When we get to where we're going, she's disappointed. If she wants to understand him more, why doesn't she just read about him? That'd probably tell her more than a place. Then again, this is a palace. Maybe she just didn't know how dilapidated and broken and run down the place would be. Anyway, we return to the shoreline and get a chance at wooing Odessa with specific conversation choices. Obviously, if you want to get on her good side and anyone's good side in the future, you'll want to choose the choices with a heart next to them. This doesn't mean you can't mess up the flirtatious process by choosing a bad choice on something that doesn't have a heart. You instigate a flirt, you should probably follow through with the appropriate responses. The first choice for flirtation here is, it's cute that you're determined.
You look cute right now, as if nothing can get in your way.
I don't usually like being called cute.
It makes me laugh that as a retort you can choose, okay, you're ugly. Which means take the compliment or don't. You'll learn to.
In time, you'll learn to love all the things I have to tell you.
You seem so certain.
I've had lots of success in the past.
I'm sure you have.
Odessa is a recurring character, so you won't have any fun time right here, but if you did it properly here and in future conversations, she'll acknowledge it. Heaven forbid you lay her down right here and she drowns from incoming waves submerging her face while she's gasping like a literal fish. When done with her, there's a small villa on the island that isn't specifically shown on the map, but when you reach it, it's called Melanthios' Goat Farm. They're usually being attacked by at least one wolf whenever I've showed up, but also the chickens will attack sometimes, which is super annoying. Little birds just pecking at your heels and flapping about. I didn't even do anything but show up at this place and they were on my ass. You'll come here because there's a dead goat that finishes the Ostraka fatal attraction. Finally, we can turn in the rest of our quests. So first we go to Elpenor to deliver the shroud. However, he gives it to us as part of the reward of testing us. Now he wants us to go kill a general in Megaris, but we'll need a ship to get there and we don't have a ship, which means we need to find a ship. First though, we meet up with Drusilla to give the wood she wants. She gets mouthy once again, so we had to put her in her place for calling us a lowly assistant.
Ah, it's Marco's assistant bringing me the wood I need, I hope.
Assistant? I don't think so.
I meant Marco's muscle. How stupid of me.
Now we go to Sammy and congratulate someone on their shipbuilding skills and even try to haggle.
It's a fine ship, Telimenes.
Cassandra! She is that. Ready to ride the waves for the right captain and the right price.
What'll it take for you to part with her?
Oh, couldn't let her go for less than 100,000.
100,000? Who has that much?
Someone who's serious about buying a ship. You think craftsmanship like this is given away?
What if I told you I had obsidian to trade?
I tell you I still need 100,000 drachmi. Besides, even if I took your obsidian, a ship this size needs an army to sail it.
I get where he's coming from, but because that haggling wasn't successful, he tells us something that is.
Not sure if this helps, but rumor has it the Cyclops is coming for you and Marcos.
Malaka. How's that helpful?
That monster's held Kefalonia captive for too long. I figure if anyone could finally rid us of his stench, it would be you.
Telimenes, what does this have to do with my need for a boat?
Rumor also has it the Cyclops has docked his ship in Kleptus Bay.
Time to go see the Cyclops. There's a few ways you can go through Kleptus Bay, one being straight through the side and into the area itself, boldly strolling downtown. Second being through a back way, I guess you could say. Every large area like this has a sort of back entrance if you want to go the super secretive route. The third way is just by the cliffside. You climb down and enter the fray that way. There aren't too many enemies on the outside portion before you reach the Cyclops, but there's still a good number, and if you're fighting them and get too close to the entryway, that'll take you to the Cyclops. You'll enter a cutscene. The game won't wait for you to kill someone, so remember that if you don't want to come out of the cutscene with a lot more enemies than typical. He's currently dunking a guy's head into some water because he called him Cyclops, which isn't something he's a fan of, and the conversation went like this.
I have never heard so much fucking god talk from one man in all my days.
Let him go.
No one on this island is allowed to say that word!
Did he say Cyclops? Did he hurt your feelings?
I don't like it when people call me that!
What initiates the fight is the fact that we took his eye and shoved it into a goat's butt. Don't worry, we can get it back. After we kill him, we can save the dude who was getting a free face wash. Although I will say it was nice for the Cyclops to wait for him to take a breath before plunging him into the water. After freeing and speaking with Barnabas, he'll gladly take you aboard his ship whenever you're ready. First thing first, though, is the Star Observatory, where we activate another synchronization area. Done sightseeing, there's that eye you shot up a goat's booty. We're going to get that back because it sells for a pretty penny now. If only the vendor knew where it had been. The way to get it back is to just kill and loot goats whenever you see them. It's completely random, but eventually a goat will drop the obsidian eye fragment and you'll get the achievement Stink Eye. Quite the literal achievement there. All right, this officially ends our time in Cephalonia as we speak to Barnabas and prepare to set sail. We have some words. Phoebe.
You're coming, are you?
If you're going, I'm going.
Phoebe, you're not old enough. I can't look after you all the time.
I can look after myself. I don't need anyone to help me.
Even if that were true, it's not your time.
We have some words with Marcos, and I even give him a hug.
Leaving Kefalonia without saying goodbye to your dear Marcos? Tell me it isn't true.
Well, you're here now, so it won't be true. Goodbye, Marcos.
All these years as a dynamic duo! I'll never replace you! Well, I may need another assistant someday, but it won't be easy. Come now, give me a hug!
All right, come here.
Yes, bring it in. Oh, will I ever miss you, Cassandra?
Thanks, Marcos. I'll miss you too.
And then we're on the boat to set sail for Megaris with a bit of a surprise on the situation.
So, what course do we set? Where in this big, beautiful world does the mighty Cassandra want to go?
Megaris.
Megaris? But we'll be sailing into war.
I got a contract for some general's head.
Whose head?
They call him the Wolf.
The Wolf? Who wants Nikolaos of Sparta dead?
Nikolaos of Sparta?
During the cutscene from Cassandra's childhood, there were a lot of parts of it that were slowed down, as if they put emphasis on the situation with slow motion in mind, but I don't really know if that's what they were meaning to do, or if the game was just slower on some parts for some reason. It just seemed really odd to put certain clips in slow-mo and random moments of our mom struggling and us struggling and the like. I mean, I would understand their move in doing so, but because it doesn't look natural for the scene to be like this, I'm not sure if it was on my end or not.
But I don't understand. Of all the places under Ilios, why risk our necks to go there?
The Wolf of Sparta is my father.
With that revelation, we're done with episode 1 of the main game and earned the achievement An Odyssey in the Making. Alright everyone, that ends this episode of our 100% playthrough review of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I know a bit more areas of the game going forward until it hits my blind spots where I haven't played the game further on. I'll mention it at that point and it'll probably seem a bit less of a walkthrough at that point because I won't know the ins and outs of quests and the lay of the lands and such. Due to already playing some of the game, I have completed several achievements, so I'll try going forward to remember the ones I've already done and mention them at the appropriate times, since they won't be popping up and I can't do a fresh play on another account of mine without purchasing the game again. I like it, but not that much. With that being said, I hope you all enjoyed the video and what I've had to say about it so far. And remember, don't get angry and Sparta kick her when you say, "Not now, Mom. I'm gaming."